What's up, farming family? How y'all doing today? Today, we're going to be talking about Gen 4 paddles and basically the most controllable paddles that are on the market in terms of Gen 4, which would be foam-based paddles where it's basically strictly foam all the way through, except for there may be some perimeter weighting in some of them and stuff like that, but it's mostly purely foam all the way through the core. So I do have a discount code with these companies. It's Farmer. You'll get 10% off if you go to these companies' websites and use it at checkout. I get a kickback from that. I thought I should let you guys know that. But yeah, we're going to get into the most controllable one first on this list, and that will be the Dieden Blue Core paddles. Okay, I went down to Florida probably a good month and a half or a month before these paddles were released, and I got to play with the 14 millimeter Pro. When playing with it, I felt like the ball set on the paddle face a decent amount, and it had a decent amount of pop. It wasn't anything crazy, but I felt like the paddle would have played a lot better with lead or tungsten, attached to it. And I was super excited about getting the paddles. And when I got back home and got the paddles in the mail, I ended up getting a 16 millimeter max and a 19 millimeter standard. The 19 millimeter standard is the elongated, really thick paddle with a short handle, and the max would be their standard shape. And when I got the paddles, I was kind of hoping that the standard shape would be called the standard. They're not. And I was also hoping that I would get the max 14, 16, and 19 millimeters, since I thought that the standard shape was the best shape out of all three of them, or would be the best shape. So when I played with the 19 millimeter standard, it was a little bit too heavy for me. I do not like elongated paddles, but what it did offer was a crap load of control. The ball just sort of sinks in the face. It's very plush compared to all the other foam paddles that are currently on the market. My buddy Eric currently uses it and plays with it nonstop. He has the Paddle Tech TKO C. He also has the 11624 Power Series Pegasus. He prefers the Dieden Blue Core Elongated. It is very, very, very control oriented. If you drive, you'll get a decent amount of plow through and power on it, but this paddle has very minimal pop, especially compared to these other Gen 4 paddles that I'm about to mention. Now, if you're wanting like the most controllable foam paddle on the market that's going to have probably the least amount of power and definitely the least amount of pop, I would probably go to the 19 millimeter Blue Cores from Dieden. And if it was me, I would specifically go to the 19 millimeter max. I got to play like one game with it, and it was a straight up control oriented paddle. It felt really, really good. But the one I got was a 16 millimeter. It felt not as controllable, but way more controllable than all the other foam paddles that are still currently in the market. I still feel like the 14 millimeter from them is more controllable than most of these other foam paddles that are currently out. Like, these paddles are control paddles. The 14 does have a little bit more pop than the carbon true foams, in my opinion. But if you're wanting the most control out of control oriented paddles, go with the 19 millimeters and then from the Blue Core, and then drop down to the 16 millimeters from Blue Core if you want something with just a little bit more pop. But just beware, both of those are definitely control oriented paddles. And then the next paddle that I'm wanting to get to, or the next series I'm wanting to get to, would be the Carbon True Foam series. All of these are considered all court, in my opinion, to the middle to the bottom of all court. They don't have a lot of pop. The ball sits on the face a decent amount, but it does have more pop than the Blue Core paddles do, or at least more than the 16 and the 19 millimeters do. So this one is, I'm going to put it on the list as a controllable foam option, because these two options in terms of paddle series are the only ones that I could offer someone if they strictly ask for a control oriented paddle. Now, I do feel like the elongated true foams have more power than the Dieden Blue Cores do. I do feel like they have a little more pop than the 16 millimeter Blue Cores do. But I still think that almost any player can take these paddles out and essentially use them and not really have any problems controlling them whatsoever. And if I was to recommend something above this in terms of pop, like in terms of foam-based paddles, the third one I would have to mention would probably be the Honolulu J2 NFT, which would be the PET or the titanium one. It is not controllable anywhere like the Blue Cores or the Carbon True Foams, but if somebody wants to step up from the Carbon True Foams, that's probably what I would recommend to them. But yeah, this has probably been a really, really short video. It feels like it. I've just kind of kept talking and run on without cutting off. This has all been like straight out the top of my head. This could be a very bad video. I'm going to have to watch this back. It might not make it on YouTube. But yeah, these have been the most controllable foam paddles that I've tried to date, which is the Blue Core, and the true foams. If you're a control-oriented player, I would look towards one of these two. The other foam paddles might make you pop up the ball a little bit more unless you're, very, very committed on dialing it in. And if you've never played with a foam paddle, these foam paddles are going to feel completely different than your polypropylene paddles. So if you get one and you don't like it instantly, I would definitely understand that. Some people don't like foam. Some people don't like certain paddle faces. Like my brother hates Kevlar and titanium. If it's either of those, I can guarantee you that boy is going to hate it. So if you don't like foam, it's understandable, but these are going to be the most control oriented out of all of them. And I hope you all enjoyed this video. Slap down below what you think is the most control-oriented paddle in terms of foam. I know there's obviously Gen 1 polypropylene paddles and stuff like that that are control-oriented. That's not what this is about. But yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed this. Until next time, stay safe. Have a good day. Drink plenty of water, y'all. I don't know why I said it like that. It's so weird. Peace.